Hello learners, welcome back to the course on learning and development in organization. In the previous session, if you have gone through, we have just touched upon human resource management strategy. Today, we'll look into some of the finest models of human resource management strategy. I will deal this in two sessions. One will be this, and the next session will look into more models and more of the practical implications. Today also we'll look into one of the practical case studies that have a clear relevance in terms of learning and development with respect to human resource management strategy models. I'm Dr. Abraham Cyril Issac. I'm an assistant professor at the School of Business, Indian Institute of Technology, Guwahati. Now, when you look into this human resource management strategy concept and model, the underlying theme would be, in order to build a rewarding employee experience, you need to understand what matters most to people. The experiential learning or the experience you are giving them within an organization. You look into your organization if you're working. I would even request the students who are listening to look into your institution. Are you getting what you are seeking for, or what matters most to you? This is what experiential learning or the work experience or whatever experience that you are gaining is all about. So this would be the underlying theme. We'll look into more of human resource management strategy now. When you look into human resource management strategy, we have to understand human resource management. We now have a clear understanding about HRM. When you look into HRM strategy, it aligns human resource functions with long-term business goals. You cannot detach the organization from the individuals that are working in the organization. So always remember that when you are looking into organization goals, organization objectives, organizational learning outcomes, this is all corroborated or linked in some or the other way with the human factor involved within the organization. So this synchronization is essential when you are devising a HRM strategy. Let's understand the importance of human resource management strategy specifically. There is no doubt that it ensures an engaged, motivated workforce driving organizational success specifically. Now, when you are talking about specifically the importance of HRM strategy, I would want to ascertain one thing. When you are looking into improving employee engagement and satisfaction, you are essentially meaning that there are options of open communication between management and employees. There is a recognition and rewards for outstanding performance, and also you see that there are opportunities for professional growth and skill development specifically. So when you are looking into HRM strategy, the objectives would be to enhance performance, create a competitive workforce, and undoubtedly improve the job satisfaction associated with the particular job or work that you are associated with. Now, when you are looking into enhancing the productivity and performance specifically, you have to look into the training and development program specifically, which is synonymous to the learning and development. It provides employees with continuous learning opportunities, and as a result, it explains or enhances the performance management and workplace optimization. Optimization is implementing policies that improve workflow and reduce the unnecessary delay. So a well-planned HRM strategy leads to a more efficient workforce that can adapt to enhance business needs. We have another critical outcome, which is reducing turnover and retaining top talent. So reducing turnover, I had a brief mention of this in the previous segment. If you look into HRM strategies help in employee retention by offering competitive salaries and benefits, or creating a positive work culture where employees actually feel valued, or even providing career advancement specifically where there are internal promotions or possibilities of internal promotions and employees feel valued. Then the critical aspect of aligning individual goals with organizational objectives, which I have already mentioned as strategic intent. So when you're looking into any organization, increased motivation would be there as employees understand how their work contributes to the company's success. There can be better teamwork also and collaboration across departments, and even you look into the entire scheme of things with a positive connotation, you will see that it fosters a positive work environment because it encourages the diversity. We have already discussed about the diversity, equity, inclusion and the belongingness associated with the organization. Implementing employee wellness programs happens to be one of the key motto for the organization now. So creating policies that typically takes care of the diversity and also the work-life balance. Becomes relevant. A positive work environment leads to happier employees, which directly impacts their performance and the company's overall success, no doubt about it. So when you look into the objectives specifically, I will mention that enhancing employee performance is all about setting performance goals. It is all about providing regular feedback. It is all about developing employee skills, offering training programs, workshops, mentorship opportunities, or sometimes, conducting the performance appraisals, giving them constructive feedback, or sometimes establishing specific measurable and achievable goals, what we call as a SMART goal. So all these aspects pertain to enhancing performance. When we look into creating a competitive workforce, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, please note it is all about attracting and retaining the top talent. It is about encouraging the continuous learning. An aspect which I have been underlining right from the first session. It also looks into fostering innovation and improving job satisfaction. Whatever we have discussed in terms of work-life balance, whatever we have discussed in terms of employee recognition and rewards, acknowledging and rewarding employee contributions, and moreover, a positive work culture. This is what typically job satisfaction here means. So when you are looking into improving job satisfaction, typically you look into creating a positive work culture without doubt. Now we also see that there are possibilities of enhancing employee engagement and retention by encouraging employee participation, or providing career growth opportunities, or let's say if I have to think about from my experience, building stronger employer-employee relationships. All these aspects typically come under the HRM strategy. Now let's understand the HRM strategy. Human resource management strategy is a crucial aspect of business operations that typically ensures the efficient management of human resources that will be aligning to the organization goals. So strategic intent, as I just discussed in the previous slide, is quite relevant here too. So HRM strategy, if you ask me, not only manages daily HR functions, but also focuses on long-term workforce. HRM strategy typically is designed to align the human resource functions with business objectives. So business objectives aligned with HR functions. This is what specifically human resource management strategy is all about. The key components of HRM strategy includes workforce planning, includes talent acquisition, retention, training, development, compensation, benefits, etc. We'll go into that quite in a detailed fashion. Let's start with the key components, the workforce planning. When you look into the workforce planning, please understand you are certainly looking into the process of analyzing and forecasting workforce needs to ensure the right number of employees with the right skills are available when needed. So you have a identification of, let's say, current and future workforce need. That's the first and foremost thing associated with workforce planning. Then you have the skill gaps, how you address the skill gaps, that is critical through recruitment or training. Then you have succession planning. succession planning that is associated with again workforce planning, and finally you will try to ensure an optimized workforce structure that aligns with the business goals. This is all about the workforce planning. When you look into talent acquisition and retention specifically, you will have the typical recruitment strategies. Coming here in talent acquisition and retention, you will have employee engagement typically. We're creating a work environment that keeps employees motivated and committed. You will have the retention policies, offering career growth opportunities, recognition programs and positive work culture to reduce the turnover. And you will also have employer branding, where it is all about enhancing the company's reputation to attract the top talent specifically. So talent acquisition and retention, I repeat, is all about recruitment strategies, employee engagement, retention policies, and employer branding. Now, when you look into the typical training and development, which is more concerned with our needs, training and development ensure that employees continuously upgrade their skills to stay competitive. So you have, something like onboarding programs. You have some skill enhancement programs. You look into any training activities, you will have the variations of this. You have some leadership development programs. And you also have, some performance improvement programs. So when you're looking into onboarding programs, it is all about helping new employees integrate into the organization. When you have skill enhancement programs, it is all about providing technical and soft skills training to improve the job performance. Leadership programs, on the other hand, is all about preparing employees for managerial and leadership roles. And then you have performance improvement plans, which offer targeted training to underperforming employees to boost productivity. And ultimately, you have the compensation and benefits. You talk about compensation and benefits, you're talking about the competitive salaries. You're talking about the incentives, performance-based incentives. Offering market-aligned pay structures is the need of the hour. Bonuses and rewards for outstanding work. You also have some, health and wellness benefit. Providing medical insurance, wellness programs and paid leave, and even some retirement plans. Basically supporting employees' financial security post-employment. So typically, you are looking into understanding the HRM strategy. You have to essentially understand the key components associated with that, which is typically workforce planning, talent acquisition and retention, training and development, compensation and benefits. Now let's understand a bit of history. Let's look into the evolution of HRM strategies specifically. Human resource management, if you ask me, has evolved significantly over the years. We have also mentioned this explicitly in our sessions in AI in HRM, specifically in the introductory sessions of that. We see that from basic administrative function, it has emerged to a strategic and proactive role in business success. So if you look into the evolution of HRM, it can be typically categorized into three phases. One is the traditional HRM. Another is the strategic HRM, and the HRM of the today would be the latest inclusion. Traditional HRM was primarily focused on administrative tasks such as hiring, payroll processing, employee record maintenance and compliance with labor laws, etc. If you look into, it is all about the admin role, where HRM functioned as a support department that handled routine workforce management without actively contributing to business strategies. It was more compliance focused, ensuring adherence to employment laws, workplace safety was a big concern. So regulations associated with that, or even the labor rights, was a primary responsibility. You also see it from a limited employee engagement point of view. Employee satisfaction and motivation were never the major concerns of the traditional HRM, and HR's role was largely transactional rather than strategic, if you ask me. Things changed when it went to the strategic HRM role, where you had more of business alignment. Business alignment means HR strategies were integrated into the overall business strategy to support the organizational growth. We also had the talent management, specifically a shift from just hiring employees to recruiting the right talent that aligned with the company goals and culture. We also saw the development of employee development, specifically, which focused on employee training, on leadership development, and even performance management. And strategic HRM had a dimension of workforce planning, which ensure that HR decisions contributed to long-term workforce sustainability and business expansion. Evolution happened again. Now we see HRM of today, which is more of a data-driven decision making. HR analytics and technology are widely used to make informed decisions. Employee well-being and diversity is critical, as I've just discussed. Leadership and organization culture. HR plays a key role in shaping workplace culture, enhancing leadership and development, and ensuring employee satisfaction typically. Finally, we also see that there is a lot of agility based discussion that is happening nowadays, adaptability based discussion. HRM strategies are now flexible to adapt to changing business environments, remote work trends, and globalization. Now let's understand some of the models of HRM strategy. Typically, having seen the typical evolution of HRM, we have to now look into different models that are established within the framework of human resource management. The best fit approach to human resource management strategy emphasizes aligning HR policies and practices with the unique needs of business. So, unlike, if you ask me, a one-size-fits-all model, this approach considers the specific internal and external environment of the organization to typically design the HRM strategies and all the aspects that best support the business success. So based on that, we have the contingency based approach. Contingency based approach is the best fit approach, which follows the contingency theory. Quickly touching upon the contingency theory, meaning HRM strategies are designed based on the specific conditions and challenges faced by the business, by the typical situation or the context. HR policies are adjusted according to factors, be it the industry type, be it the company size or the market conditions or the corporate strategies. So this ensures that HR practices remain relevant and adaptable to changing business environments. Then you have the model which focuses on the business needs. The core principle of this model is that HRM should be aligned with overall business objectives. The approach ensures that recruitment, training, or even compensation and employee development are structured to support the company's strategic directions. HR policies are typically tailored to address specific business challenges, be it talent shortages, skill gaps, or even organizational restructuring. The third important element or model would be competitive advantage through people management. Specifically, effective HRM strategies under the best fit approach maximize the employee potential, helping businesses gain a competitive advantage in their industry specifically. So when you are looking into alignment with organizational structure, alignment with organizational strategy, you will see that this approach fosters high performance work systems, ensuring employees contribute effectively to business success. So these are some of the typical models of the HRM strategy, the best fit approach. When you look into the strategic human resource management, I would want you to go through this diagram quickly, which illustrates the SHRM, strategic human resource management framework. You can see from the book which we have taken it. You look into this particular model. This highlights the interconnected relationship between business strategy, human resource management, and organizational performance. So you have typically a vision, strategic business plan, and the stakeholders within the typical environment that you are looking into. The HR strategy is developed in alignment with the company's vision and overall strategic business. Key stakeholders are there, be it the executives, the managers, employees, investors, all they shape is the HR policy. Then you have the human resource strategy and HR policy specifically, which gives out the policies. You have the typical human resource strategy, which is formulated based on the organization goals and business environment. HR plans and policies provide a structured approach to managing people, ensuring compliance. Then you have the different HR functional areas. You look into, job design, recruitment, selection process, human resource development plan. You look into, typical aspects that ensures the right people are hired for right roles, optimizing the workforce capabilities and efficiency here. You look into training, the need for skilling, upskilling, and career development to enhance the employee competencies and prepare them for the future roles. You have the diversity management plans typically, which promotes inclusivity, equal opportunities, and a diverse workforce, enhancing innovation and employee engagement, if you ask me. Then you have the most interesting and most critical remuneration and reward system, where it is all about discussing the compensation strategies. It could include the salary, it could include the incentives, bonuses. It helps motivate employees and retain top talent. Then you have the performance management strategies, which involve setting performance expectations, evaluations, feedback, and goal alignment to drive productivity and accountability. Then you have the career development and succession plans, where you identify future leaders within the organization and provide structured pathways for professional growth. And finally, you have the employee relations strategy, which focuses on maintaining positive employer-employee relationships. It maintains or tries to reduce the conflicts and ensures the compliance, specifically the labor law. Then you have the strategic organizational outcomes, which is all about performance, it's all about productivity, effectiveness, profitability. When you look into performance, employees are more engaged than productivity. Please note that. You look into productivity, optimized workforce leads to better results. You look into effectiveness, you see that HR policies align with corporate objectives. You have a typical mention of cost effectiveness, where HR strategies minimize unnecessary expenses. And when you look into profitability, you look into a well-managed workforce that contributes to financial success. And finally, you have the achievement of business success or business outcomes. The final goal of strategic human resource management is to align HR strategies with business goals, ensuring long-term success and competitive advantage. So continuous feedback loops ensure HR strategies typically evolve with changing business needs specifically. So you see the feedback loop that goes from the achievement of business outcomes specifically. Now, having discussed this particular model, let's look into the key elements of best fit model. The best fit model in human resource management typically emphasizes the alignment between HR strategies and business strategies. So this approach ensures that the HR policies and practices are tailored to the specific needs of the organization, leading to the competitive advantage that the organization will get. The first and the foremost one would be business strategy. The HR strategy must align with the overall business strategies. We have discussed this categorically. Business typically adopt one of the following strategies. You can look into any typical business. You will have either cost leadership, where you compete on price by maintaining low cost, like typical example being Walmart. So HR focuses on efficiency, standardized training, and cost-effective recruitment. Or you have differentiation. We talk about competing based on unique products or services. Classic example of Apple. HR prioritizes innovation, creativity and highly skilled talent. Or there will be some niche strategy. This is interesting because in niche strategy you focus on a specific market segment. Example could be any luxury brands. HR ensures recruitment and development align with the niche customer expectations. Then you have the HR policies, recruitment, selection, retention policies, all should be designed to support the business strategy. So HR should establish hiring processes that attract the right talent. So hiring processes typically part of this. Retention strategies will be part of this to reduce the turnover and maintain workforce stability. Then you have the training and development programs tailored to organization goals. Let's take an example. A tech company focusing on innovation will prioritize hiring creative problem solvers and investing in continuous learning. Another significant element would be the workplace capability. A skilled and capable workforce is essential for maintaining a competitive advantage. So HR, if you ask me, must focus on upskilling and reskilling of employees, leadership development programs and creating a culture of learning. This is the most important aspect, a culture of learning to drive the continuous improvement. You look into Google, it invests heavily in employee training, ensuring its workforce remains at the cutting edge of the technology. So this is something which is quite reproducible if you ask me with respect to organizational policies. Then you have the organizational structure. The structure of the organization should align with its strategic goals and HR policies. You look into different aspects of that. Flat structure could mean that it encourages flexibility, open communication and collaboration. So it is mostly common in startups or tech firms. You have hierarchical structure, which ensures there is clear authority, there is clear control and accountability. So an example could be a manufacturing company with standardized operations may prefer a hierarchical structure, while a creative agency may benefit from a flat structure that fosters typical collaboration. Then you have performance measurement. HR must establish metrics to evaluate the effectiveness of HR strategies and their impact on business success. So you look into the KPIs, key performance indicators. You have employee productivity levels, you have turnover and retention rates, you have employee satisfaction and engagement, you have revenue per employee. Even there are now diversity and inclusion metrics. So you look into a customer service company that may measure employee performance based on customer satisfaction scores is looking into performance measurement categorically. Now let's look into the different advantages and also the disadvantages of Model 1. When you look into the advantages specifically of Model 1, which focuses on aligning the HR strategies with business objectives to optimize the performance and efficiency, I will say that there is a direct link to business success. The model undoubtedly ensures that the HR strategies are directly aligned with business goals. So this typical connection enhances overall organizational performance by improving the workforce productivity and efficiency. You also see that it leads to better decision making as HR policies are based on strategic business priorities. Then you have efficient resource allocation. You look into HR resources, be it talent, be it training or compensation, they are all optimized to meet the business needs. So it prevents wasteful spending, if you ask me, on unnecessary HR initiatives that do not typically align with the company objectives. The organization can focus on high impact HR activities that drive business success. Another specific advantage would be industry specific customization. Let's understand what is this. The model allows businesses to tailor HR policies based on the industry requirements. Let's take an example. A tech company may emphasize skill development and innovation, while a manufacturing firm may prioritize operational efficiency and safety training. So, this flexibility typically ensures that HR practices are relevant and effective. Then you have competitive advantage through HR alignment. Aligning HR with business strategy ensures that the workforce is a key driver of competitive success. So, organizations that use this model can typically attract, they can retain and develop top talent who directly contribute to business growth. Finally, you will see that strategic HR planning helps companies to stay ahead of the competitors by focusing on workforce capabilities. Having discussed the advantage, you have also to look into the disadvantages. You have to also look into the disadvantages. The first one would be it requires frequent adjustments. Since business strategies evolve due to market trends, competition and customer demands, HR policies must be continuously updated. So, if you ask me, frequent adjustments can create instability in HR operations and require ongoing resources for change management. The second possible disadvantage would be complex implementation for large firms. Large organizations, if you ask me, with multiple departments, these organizations and global operations related or associated with them may find it challenging to implement this model uniformly. Coordination between different units and HR teams can be complicated. We also see that standardizing HR policies while maintaining flexibility for individual department can be a difficult balance altogether. So, these are the typical possible disadvantages. The third one being may not suit the dynamic industries. Industries that experience rapid technological advancements or frequent market shifts may struggle with this model. So, if the model is too rigid, it may prevent organizations from quickly adapting to changes. Startups or fast-paced industries may require more flexible HR approaches that prioritize agility over alignment. So, this is typically what we have seen with respect to the HRM strategy, HR models, etc. We have seen what are the different conceptual frameworks are. We have also seen what are the different typical advantages and disadvantages associated with this model. Having said that, let's go from the theory to the world of practice. Let's understand it from the practical standpoint. Let's discuss now a case study which is based on Google and its HR strategy. When you look into this particular case study, this throws light into the practical scheme of things. As you know, Google is widely recognized as a leader in innovation and market dominance, and its human resource strategy typically plays a critical role in maintaining this status. So, the company has developed an HR model that prioritizes attracting top talent and fostering an employee-centered workplace and creating a continuous learning. So, this strategic approach helps Google maintaining high employee motivation, productivity and innovation specifically. So, what we have seen is that there is a business strategy of innovation and market leadership. So, Google's overall business strategy revolves around what we see as continuous innovation in technology and related products, maintaining the market leadership by staying ahead of the competitors, and even investing in talent, research and development to drive long-term success. So, it's all about hiring top talent, it's all about employee-centered workplace, and if you ask me, it is all about continuous learning. Hiring top talent means it focuses on recruiting the best professionals in industry, ensuring that it attracts individuals with high skill levels, creativity and problem-solving abilities. You look into employee-centered workplace, it creates an environment where employees feel valued and motivated, providing perks, collaborative culture, work-life balance initiatives, etc. You then see continuous learning culture. Google encourages employees to constantly develop their skills through training, mentorship and professional growth. So, you see this key HR practices, you see that talent acquisition, it always goes for hiring elite engineers. Google has a rigorous hiring process that includes multiple rounds of interviews, skill assessments, and cultural fit evaluation specifically. So the company prioritizes individuals with problem solving skills, technical expertise, and innovative thinking. So by selecting elite engineers and professionals, Google ensures that it has a workforce capable of driving innovation. Then if you look into the training and development part specifically, 20% time is given for projects, and I am talking about personal projects here. Google introduced this 20% time rule, which allows employees to dedicate 20% of their working hours to personal projects. We had a small glimpse of that in our first session. I'm trying to explain that in greater detail through this case study. This initiative typically encourages employees to experiment, develop new ideas, and work on passion projects that could actually benefit Google. So several successful products such as Gmail or Google Maps originated from this policy. Can you believe that? Another significant aspect would be compensation. You look into the competitive packages. Google offers industry leading salaries to attract and retain top talents. Employees receive extensive benefits including stock options, wellness programs, flexible work schedules, and free meals. By providing a supportive and rewarding work environment, Google ensures high levels of job satisfaction and employee retention. So what is the outcome? The outcome is typically high motivation, innovation driven workforce. So you have high employee engagement due to a positive workforce environment. You have continuous innovation with employees encouraged to develop new ideas. You have a competitive market advantage ensuring Google remains a leader in the tech industry. You have strong employer brand making Google one of the most desirable places to work globally. So these are the typical aspects associated with Google. Now let's understand HRM strategy implementation. What were the steps that they followed? First was to assess business needs. We are talking about it is all about identifying the HR capabilities required for success. So you analyzing business goals to determine the workforce requirements specifically. You identify skill gaps and assessing the competencies required for growth. You evaluate workforce trends to predict the future HR needs, and typically you understand organizational challenges such as talent shortages, employee turnover, or productivity issues. Then you align the HR policies, match the recruitment, training, and compensation with business goals. You have the recruitment strategy here, which is about attracting and hiring the right talent based on company needs. You have the T&D, training and development, providing employees with relevant skills to enhance the performance. If you ask me, you also have the compensation and benefits, which ensures competitive salaries and incentives to retain the top talent. And you also give way to some workplace policies for fostering employee engagement, diversity, and inclusion. Then you have the typical attempt to develop the HR metrics, which measures the HR performance and impact. You have the employee performance metrics, which tracks productivity, efficiency. You also look into engagement. So employee performance matrix takes care of these aspects. Then you have the turnover and retention rates, monitoring employee satisfaction and reasons for attrition. You look into recruitment success rate, assessing the effectiveness of hiring practices, and you also look into the training effectiveness, measuring the impact of learning and development programs. Then you look into the continuous improvement. What happens when you update the HR strategy based on market trends. So stay updated with industry trends, evolving workforce needs, adapt the HR strategies to changes in technology, employee expectations, and market demands, incorporate the typical feedback from employees to enhance workplace policies, regularly view HR performance data to refine recruitment, training, retention strategies, etc. Now finally, let's look into the challenges in HRM strategy implementation. The first and the foremost one, of course, was the resistance to change. Please note, ladies and gentlemen, lack of engagement, fear of job security, and management reluctance. You look into employees that be reluctant to adopt to new HR policies. There may be workforce automation and restructuring that can cause employees to resist HR-driven initiatives. So senior leaders who may not fully support HR changes due to perceived risk or disruption. You must have seen budget constraints in your organization. It was similar here also, where you had recruitment and hiring costs as one of the significant aspect where the organizations were struggling. You have training and development requirements, specifically investing in employee upskilling and leadership development may be deprioritized specifically. You had the recruitment and hiring costs where organizations may struggle to attract top talent due to financial limitations on salaries and business. You had problems with respect to training and development, investing in employee upskilling and leadership development. You also have HR technology implementation costs, integrating HR software, AI-driven recruitment tools and automation solutions require financial backing. Then the third critical challenge was aligning HR with dynamic business needs. You talk about the typical policies that were devised. So keeping HR policies relevant, talent management strategies, as HR must ensure that hiring, training, retention efforts align with the shifting business priorities. And most importantly, organizations must forecast talent demands and skill requirements to remain competitive. And finally, measuring HR impact on business performance, if you ask me, quantifying the effectiveness of HR strategies is essential, but often challenging. So lack of standardized HR metrics, you look into the KPIs, you'll see that. Difficulty linking HR efforts to business outcomes or limited data-driven decision making all emerged as significant challenges. So when you look into this particular case study in a holistic manner, you'll understand that human resource management paves the foundation towards learning and development. And we have seen strategic human resource management. I wanted to introduce you to these topics because this will act as the fundamental block of learning and development. You typically look into human resource management, strategic human resource management. In today's session, we have looked into the relevant model, how we can align the individual objectives towards the business objectives, how the human resource requirements and objectives can be aligned with the organizational objectives. This link was deciphered in today's session, and we also looked into the practicality, how in case of Google, it replicated the entire scene where you looked into human resource management right by analyzing or linking these individual strategies towards the organizational strategy. So we are not looking into something which is not tested. This is something which has been very effective over the years for many organizations. Google is one such example. So we'll look into more of this strategic human resource management practices in the coming lectures, which will actually give you a fair bit of idea about the relevance of learning and development. We'll look into more of these details in the coming classes. Till then, take care. Bye-bye.